WPwatercooler's WPblab episode number 131. WPblab is made possible this week by our sponsors ServerPress and Kinsta. ServerPress makers a desktop server. They make local WordPress development easy. Check them out over at serverpress.com. So, Bridget, let's introduce ourselves really quick. And I think when we do this, let's not introduce ourselves as if everyone knows who we are. But let's introduce ourselves, like properly. Like let's really tell somebody about us and how they can get a hold of us and that sort of thing. Go for it, Bridget.
I thought that's what I've been doing. But...
No, you've been like, thanks for watching our show for the last 500 years. I appreciate it. We're all friends now, whatever. And then you just kind of go off and do your thing.
Hey, my name is Bridget Willard. You can find me at bridgetwillard.com. I'm a social media marketer. I specialize with WordPress services and products. I do consulting and management of your accounts and training for your team. One thing you should know about me is I enjoy changing my hair color and style frequently. So it's impossible for Jason to keep up with me unless he uses gravatar.com. And I started construction. My student debt is for teaching, and I have an emphasis in psychology. So all of that combines to make me the marketing mastermind that I am. I enjoy it very much. I love teaching. It's my favorite thing. If I could teach clients all day and let y'all do your own work, that's what I would do. But, sometimes it's good to outsource. That's me.
Awesome. I'm Jason Tucker. You can find me over at Jason Tucker on Twitter. My website is jasontucker.blog. I do this show, and I also do another show called WPwatercooler, which is kind of the name of the network that we do here. And WPwatercooler, we record those on Fridays in the morning, 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific. Feel free to go take a look at that. We also make these shows available as podcasts as well as audio and video and all that fun stuff. And so right down here is where you can subscribe to our stuff. We're available on everything. We're available we're available on all sorts of stuff. So if any of the podcasting sites, you can definitely go take a look at us over there. We also stream on YouTube, like you're probably watching right now, and Twitch and all sorts of places. So feel free to go take a look at that. We'd really appreciate it. And what's funny, Bridget, is while we were doing the whole intro, I totally didn't actually show up like the Kinsta ad that I spent a good couple minutes actually doing here. So there's Kinsta, so feel free to take a look at them, and then ServerPress as well. There's ServerPress. I know we have new tools. We have new toys, and now I want to play with all of them. All right, Bridget. So today's topic, we wanted to discuss. How do we even begin with this?
So generally, we're a marketing topical show as opposed to WP Watercooler, which is news. But there's so much going on that really needs to be talked about in depth. So I asked Jason if he would let us have kind of a one-on-one water cooler for WPblab.
So the title you came up with was the State of WordPress Ecosystem, the summer update. Yeah, which I think works perfectly for this.
Yeah, I'm always going to talk about the strategic implications of WordPress, business and branding wise.
Right.
That's never going to not be part of the subject. But yeah, Jeff Chandler's leaving has left WP Tavern. He wrote about it on his blog, and he said it's been a long time coming. So it won't be a surprise, but he's no longer a contributing writer. You can listen to an interview with Bob WP on his. You can see this blog post on his website, jeffc.me. It's the first post right there, or if you're seeing this a year from now, it's not relevant because you. So we try to make these shows evergreen. Anyway, poor Jeff. Not poor Jeff, but he's such a sweet guy. And he's whatever you think of the tavern and WP drama, which I hate that term. You know what I hate the term drama, Jason? It implies that it's not true.
Ooh.
And I think that it's demeaning and dismissing to some people's actual legitimate concerns. So that's why I hate WP drama. I hate it. I have friends that go, I don't do drama. And I'm like, you make the drama. Anyway, Jeff is a great writer, and he's had such a huge influence in thought leadership and in the WordPress ecosystem, reporting on acquisitions, mergers, features, and the comments is where people have a lively discussion. And he is moving on to better and brighter things. He has not announced what those are yet, but I just think it'll be really interesting. Not that Sarah Gooding isn't a good writer, and I have no idea who's going to take over that editorial voice of the WP Tavern, which is featured in your news box in the dashboard. So it'll be really interesting to see, because I used to be in the marketing team, and so we always wanted to be in that news box for the Make WordPress marketing team. So it'd be interesting to see who's chosen to be the editor, to have editorial, kind of discretion, and who else is going to write for Tavern, what kind of topics, if it's going to stay the same. Tavern was his baby, and now it's grown up and it doesn't need him anymore. It's going off to college and he's an empty nester. But I mean, I just think it's so funny because, not funny, but it's interesting because WordPress is 15 years old now? Or did we already turn 16? 15.
Pretty close, I think. Yeah.
It might be 16. I'm losing track. Either way, this ecosystem is maturing to the point where even in the pre-show, we were saying, well, maybe WordCamp shirts aren't the best thing. We didn't have them at WordCamp Montreal, which I just returned from. And there's a lot that's changing. So anyway, I really appreciate Jeff, and I've met him in person once at WordCamp Chicago, and I really enjoyed chatting with him. He's a really good person, and he's going to be missed as far as that editorial voice goes.
Yeah, I agree. It's when you have a publication like that is. It's the voice of WordPress, and especially when it's so close, like so close to the edge of being almost like embedded in that ecosystem. I mean, not just like how we are, but like so deep, so close to the actual source of things. That's hard to recreate. I mean, you can't get somebody that's just like somebody that works for the company and be like, hey, come on in and and tell us all about the things that are happening. Like that's just not going to happen,
Right.
So that's a tough one, and it's going to be a hard thing to recreate. And for him, especially if he's the kind of person that really thrived off of that type of ability of being able to pull that information and work with it. I know even during that interview that he was doing with Bob, is that it's one thing to just do hot takes, and that's what like water coolers for. We do hot takes all day long, but hot takes also mean literally none of it is vetted. None of it is sourced properly. Everything is just whatever we see, we say. That's it. I mean, but we're not saying it we're not doing like, like a controversial news show or anything like that. But just what his thing was with that, and it kind of really hit home for me, is the fact that to be able to report on a thing requires you to go so far into the research to make sure that things are working right. By the time you've done all that, are you reporting or not? And everyone else is just meta reporting off of the things that you already wrote.
Well,
so I mean, it's tough.
An editorial is an editorial. That means it has opinion. Journalism tries to have both sides. And so that's tricky. I mean, to talk about this a little bit deeper, we probably should have Jen Miller on the show, who our producer Jen, we miss you. She was a journalist.
Yeah.
And you have to know the who, what, when, where, why. And I would I know that you think there's just hot takes and that some of the water cooler is a little kitschy, but it doesn't mean it's not true.
No. And most of the time it is true.
When it's volunteer work, we are the source. We are the source. We are the deep throat.
Yeah.
So we know what's going on in Watergate because we were there in that hotel room. Okay, that's the difference with open source and other kind of,
Sure.
like, we don't know how much Yahoo sold, Tumblr for, unless Verizon tells us. And Verizon's not telling us how much automatic, but I'm going ahead of it. We actually tried to be organized this time, you guys.
We did. We did.
We have a list. So Jason wants to talk about the IT side of,
Yeah, it's just I was
Tavern
reading.
and Jeff leaving.
Yeah, I was reading a couple of Jeff's tweets, and he was talking about the simple fact that it's hard for somebody who's been doing that type of work for so long that all your stuff is tied up in it. It's like you never thought in a million years, like, oh, I'm never going to have to go and rewrite this. I'm never going to have to go and change whatever. And sure enough, especially in this particular tweet, he was saying migrating a one-person 10-year-old site to someone else is not as easy as it could be. Lots of emails and password changes. And so for an IT person like myself, where I have to do this all the time, service accounts, and make sure everything's tied to the domain that you're interacting with. And just you have to do all those sorts of things, and just make it so it's not attached to your personal email account.
Okay, so
or
when you
the
say
account.
service accounts, can you tell that
Yeah, so
to
it's
me and the rest of our audience?
Yeah. So a service account to me is like it's an email address that it's not attached to a name. So it could be like information at yourdomain.com,
Okay.
or it could be outside services at whatever.com, or whatever. The term service account just means it's a reusable account. It's something that's
It's not
easy to be
Bridget
passed on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So that makes it hard because that means you're logging in and out of different accounts and all those things. But in reality, it just means that down the road, when somebody else inherits your thing, that you don't have to worry about it. And it's one thing to say this now, like for instance, WPwatercooler, all this stuff is tied to Jason's account on WPwatercooler, but it's on his account. It's not that hard to get rid of it. But if it was his own personal account and it's like, I'm not giving you my password, okay, that's where things get a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, that's true.
Hire a good IT person.
Hire a good IT. Well, I mean, and maybe if you're building a thing,
from scratch right now with
think
that
about
knowledge
it.
you have.
You're probably going to sell it or leave or whatever. Yep. I mean, it's fine. So thanks, Jeff, for the last 10 years being awesome.
Thank you.
And
he's been in all the podcasts that he's been doing.
Oh, well, I think he's still doing some of those WordPress weeklies. I think he's still doing that.
I don't believe so. Yeah.
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure about.
Jeff is no longer a writer at Tavern.
Yep.
I kind of wish that now I'm like, well, who's going to do the real, like, serious who's going to do the here's the controversial part, who's going to do the non-tied to automatic or Audrey Capital investigative reporting on all things WordPress?
We need to know about the goots. Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah. Looking for a few good men? You want to do some investigative journalism? We'll let you publish on WPwatercooler.com.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So the next subject is my trip to Montreal.
Yeah. How was that?
# bonjour. Hi. I got to finally meet Michelle Bluma in person.
Yes.
And it's just so cool. It is completely bilingual.
Did you have pizza with pineapple on it?
No. But it was just okay. I will say that it was the best after party I've ever been to. And here's why. It was a big location, but not too big. There wasn't blaring music, but they did have music. It wasn't a bar. It was our place. So you know how for Orange County we go to Dirty Nelly's. We don't buy it out.
Right.
It'd be like all of us going to Hennessy's. It's not the same. So it was just us, and they had really good food. The people who were serving were really nice. There was plenty of area around the bar so that you could get your drink, whatever, your drink ticket. I got a red wine. because when in Montreal, I mean, it's pretty French. There was a song lyric I was listening to with Jason Lemieux, because I went there with Jason Lemieux of Postmatic. And the guy wrote, she went to Montreal to be closer to France. But yeah, and so anyway, and there was a backyard area with like those really big bulb lights and Adirondack chairs. It was such a cool after party. It was not too crowded. There's plenty of places to sit. Very good. Very well organized for a So in Southern California, we'd like to say that we have a lot of languages, but we're not really that bilingual. You're either speaking Spanish or you're speaking English, or if you're in some parts, you're speaking, Chinese, Japanese, Hmong, Vietnamese, Korean, Farsi, Arabic, but there's not a whole lot of bilingualism. In California, with all of our languages, we're not integrated at all. So it was really interesting for me. And I've been to some places, I'm not a world traveler, but I've been outside of our borders a couple times now. And I was so fascinated that all you had to do is start with bonjour, and they would say, hey, how's it going? Like, whatever. They're just Canadians to speak French.
Right.
So everybody was super friendly. The metro is really fascinating. It's clean. The tunnels don't smell. The actual WordCamp itself was really great because they had 2 tracks in French and 1 track in English.
Oh, wow.
And they did the opening remarks in French and English. It was great. It was so cool.
That's cool.
Yeah, I went into the end of one of the talks just to see what it was like, and you hear Gutenberg, I say F, custom post types. I'm like, those are words I know.
Oh my gosh!
So cool because like they didn't. They honored both cultures, and that was really cool to see in WordPress. I mean, I'm not saying we don't see it, but I don't see it a lot. I mean, even when I went to the WordCamp in Nijmegen, I think it's all in English. WordCamp Europe's in English.
Yeah.
Look, I'm fine with English. It's the universal tech language. It's a language of air control towers. I mean,
right.
It's fine, okay? But it's really cool to see how people are, in their own language. And Kinsta, this week's Tool of the Tip of the Week sponsor, printed their book that Brian Lee Jackson wrote on how to optimize your website in both English and French.
Oh, that's cool.
I thought that was really awesome.
That is really awesome.
I enjoyed it, and no T-shirt, just a coffee cup. And there was a tweet or something. There was some discussion somewhere about WordCamp swag, and whether or not we could just donate to a nonprofit instead.
Oh yeah.
And plus, I guess it's a logistical thing that we can't do it. WP Campus did that this year. I thought that was really interesting. Like in lieu of swag, they were donating to a charity.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so, but T-shirt sizes are such a pain. I had a friend emailing me because of my GitHub repo, trying to see if there's 4X soft shirts. And I'm like, I don't think those exist on the planet. Like once you have X's, then you get the worst fabric that was ever created. And that it does feel not as cool, but also I just donated 5 bags to Goodwill today, and pretty sure there's going to be some people wearing WordCamp shirts in Orange County. Not all of them. I just kept my favorites, But yeah, Montreal was worth going to. I've been wanting to go for a long, long time. I tried some things I never had. Ironically, it was Asian food. I mean, not ironically. No, I did go to a really cool French sandwich place. Oh my gosh. You got to go to Canada while the Canadian dollar's down.
Oh no.
I did $12 sandwich Canadian, $12 Canadian. It was like $8.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
it was super awesome. And then anyway, I had hand tossed or handmade noodles. It's a bowl. You have to eat it with chopsticks. Beef.
Yeah.
It was super good. Although if you do that, don't wear like an orange shirt because you're gonna get that chili sauce on you, even if you're careful, like me. And then we went to Korean barbecue for this.
Nice.
The food was good, but the person
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my gosh, I have to have Asian food," because he lives in a tiny, tiny town in Vermont with maybe 1,000 people.
Crazy.
I'll tell you what's crazy. The capital of Vermont can be walked in less than 20 minutes.
Wow.
Montpelier. Yeah. So
Wow.
anyway, that's Montreal and Vermont. It was a really great week. I highly encourage everybody to take a week somewhere if you can, or a few days, and get out of your routine. I'm telling you, I slept well. I got more work done. I was more effective. I hate that word busy, like productive, like we're supposed to be
Mm-hmm.
little worker bees flying
Right.
until we die, just throwing up, making honey. That's not what we're supposed to do. But I had so much clarity because I was in another environment, and that was really good. I don't really want to go there when it snows. Okay, so
Yeah.
PHP is our next PHP is our next topic, and there was a blog on PHP Storm. I saw this blog post because I have a client who works in Magento, and there's this whole like issue with P++, and from the JetBrains PHP Storm blog, I'll just quote really quick. P++, the controversy and accusations in PHP internals over the removal of short tags and other discussions eventually resulted in an unexpected proposal from Zeev Sarowski: create a new PHP dialect. The working name P++ is not accidental here, as Zeev suggests creating a sister language like C++ or C. PHP and P++ are supposed to be developed side by side within a single runtime. In the new P++, it will be impossible to implement a lot of revolutionary improvements to depreciate legacy and clear things up without thinking about backward compatibility. Since the language would
Dang.
have a new branding, it would not have a bad reputation. A quote-unquote classic PHP would get all the performance and no other syntax features would be and other non-syntax features, but would remain backward compatibility. Maintain backward compatibility. So there's internal issues with the PHP people. And I was like reading that. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like WordPress core.
Right, but it's a programming language.
Here's the thing, Jason. So there's two words that stuck out to me. Backward compatibility. It's backward, okay? There's no such word as backwards. You're going backward. I thought everybody was just saying it wrong, and now I see it printed wrong. Backward compatibility.
Yeah, but if we all do it at some point, they'll just add it to the dictionary and then we're all correct.
That's true. I mean, the Oxford Dictionary has been pretty lenient lately. We should have on that. But backward compatibility is a core mission to WordPress.
Huh.
And WordPress is written in PHP.
Yep.
So if P++, well,
we're getting more and more JavaScript is getting thrown in there like crazy. So
either way, you still have to have the language that speaks to the database.
That's true.
So there's MySQL, and there's something, and there's JavaScript. JavaScript is all in the browser anyway.
Yep.
So what's in the middle?
Yep.
PHP or P++.
Right.
So if we go P++ or whatever, then there's going to be another fork in the road. As Robert Frost said, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood. And being one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could. Like, like there's going to be, I know that everybody like fork. I mean, literally a fork. So I used to say, and everybody was mad at me, that WordPress 5 created a fork with plugins and themes unintentionally, but it did, because theme and plugin developers have 3 choices. Number 1, they support 5.0. Number 2, they support 4.9 and below. Or number 3, they support all of them. So if you're doing Gutenberg or 5.0 in the new WordPress editor, that's not the same as 4.9 and behind. So you're doing one, both, or the other. And that's when we saw Studio Press get purchased by WP Engine, iThemes get purchased by Liquid Web, right? So you got big theme companies. All of a sudden, you have code compatibility issues with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of themes. So I posted that article in the core WordPress Slack. Of course, nobody wrote me back, or at least they didn't tag me. But, I mean, I think we should be aware of it. Either way, PHP is trying to be cool again, or still.
Right.
You realize they have a lot of developers like, I don't even like PHP. I like Laravel. I mean, the big talk in Montreal was Laravel. People are really into it. They're excited about it, So if we want to keep, this is always a debate in WordPress, right? Do we want to keep our really good developers or keep our users? Backward compatibility, super cool developers. Now I'm like, learn whatever language you want. But if it's so easy for you to develop a WordPress, then turn those out and let that be your money maker. And then go do fun stuff in Laravel.
That's the thing, is Laravel is PHP. Just like jQuery,
It doesn't really matter. So the PHP, P++ situation, no matter what happens with those people, it's going to affect everybody. Magento, Joomla, right? Joomla's still on PHP. It's a big deal in the open source CMS world. It'd be worth having a show. I would love to watch a WPwatercooler episode with your devs talking about that. That's a topic request from me.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I want to do is mention it. And then Caldera Forms joins Ninja Forms. So acquisitions. Oh my.
Right. I know, that's crazy. Good for them.
I love them all. And it seems like it's such a good, at first you're like, wait, what? No, Caldera Forms is very developer-y, and it's going to stay that way. Now Josh can work there full time doing his thing. Christy Chirinos helped make that awesome. She's super smart marketing business strategist. I mean, when I say super smart, I mean literally a genius prodigy with a master's degree in economics. Okay, so like she's pretty smart. So like they did a good thing, And now Ninja Forms is going to stay user focused, and Ninja Forms is going to remain developer focused. And now they are a fully distributed team.
Yeah, where they weren't before.
Because James Laws, one of my very good friends, he was one of the last.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to keep company culture when you grow, whether it's distributed or not, because cultures,
it's true.
There's always going to be subgroups. So I'm just, that is one partnership that I feel warm in my soul about. Like, I don't feel it was cannibalistic.
Right. No, it's true. There's there's been many acquisitions, not even in the WordPress space, but just in general, that it's just like, wow, really? Okay, so at what point does one get cut off from the other? Like, which one gets sold for parts or whatever? And that's not the case here, Yeah, it's a totally different thing. And I love the fact that
junkyard.
What?
Sold for parts.
Oh.
Speaking of that, automatic bought Tumblr.
Dude, yeah, that was some interesting stuff.
Tumblr.
That was some interesting stuff. I mean, I personally have never.
Did they need a tax write-off?
I don't know. I mean, I never used Tumblr personally. I was a LiveJournal person 500 years ago. And so LiveJournal was my jam. That's where I wrote all my blog posts and all my stuff, because the blog posts and all that stuff didn't exist yet. And so it was just like, that's where I wrote all my stuff, was on LiveJournal. And so for Tumblr was more about like sharing memes and sharing crazy stuff and just being totally wild out. So yeah, that's an interesting one. And there's been a lot of stuff with Tumblr and pornography, and Tumblr and kiddie porn, and just all this just really toxic type stuff that's happening there. And the second that was posted about, and Twitter and Facebook and all this stuff, people were just like, oh, so now they own like the world's largest collection of porn or whatever. It's like, come on, people.
Okay. First of all,
but Pornhub was thinking about buying it.
Well, Pornhub should have bought it.
It's a trip.
Well, here's the thing. Okay, first I'm going to tell you why I think it happened, and then I'll get back to the porn thing.
Okay.
Number one,
and I didn't want to turn this into a whole show.
Well, we don't have that much time because we got to get to the tour tip of the week. But I'll just go quickly. Number one, corporations buy corporations that are dying for the loss carryover. It's a tax write-off. Number two, WordPress.com gets more users. Number three, because of the users, WordPress.com will be sold. Automatic will be sold. Matt Mullenweg can step down as CEO and run the WordPress project without any conflict of interest and properly filing. That is what I'm hoping will happen. That is my official prediction that I gave to Jason Lemieux when I was in Vermont. But what I've read about Tumblr, which is interesting because WordPress has a culture of inclusion, right? And we support LBG. I mean, ding these teeth. This is the problem with all these new bridges. I'm having a hard time enunciating.
Yep.
With the LBGQT. I forgot. When I was a kid, it was just LBGT. I'm missing an acronym, and I apologize. But there's a lot of people in the trans community, the T, use Tumblr as a way to express themselves because they weren't allowed to elsewhere. And then it became a porn thing. But when you're talking about sexuality, some people consider some of that porn.
Right.
Now, you and I and the law of the United States of America draw that line at minors, and we call it pedophilia. So that's legally enforceable. Whatever your ethics are, I'm going to just go out, balls out, say I think it's wrong, but it's also illegal. So that can be dealt with the FBI and everything like that. But the fact that WordPress is taking a place that used to be safe for the trans community, maybe allowing it to be safe again, I think is a good thing. Can you imagine? Like, I have some friends who went through that.
But will Gutenberg end up on that?
Okay, according to my friends that I talked to this weekend,
a little birdie is what I hear in my community is called a little birdie spoke to you.
No, a little birdie spoke to me. His name was Ben. Not Ben Meredith, but he said that Gutenberg is just a layer on top of WordPress. You could put it on anything. You could put it on Drupal. You could put it on Joomla. So if it's just a layer because it's written in React, then you
Right.
can put a layer over Tumblr, which goes to my main point of why they bought it, which is users. That's why
Yeah.
Jetpack has been super aggressive. So the whole theory of act now and ask for forgiveness later is what Jetpack has been doing very aggressively the last couple of years. Actually, the last year.
Mm.
But especially the last couple of years, but especially this year. And I'm telling you, this is what happens when you have venture capital. People want to return. That's why they let you borrow their money, so they could get it back with some extra. I have a friend who was my loan shark. I said, "You want to be my loan shark? Sure. I need $200 for a week. I'll give you $225." He goes, "That sounds like a good deal." I'm like, "Right. That's venture capital. They
Yeah.
want their money, and they're going to break your knees if you don't get it." I mean, that's the mafia. But I mean,
I
I'm
want
just
to.
saying.
I want to show a comment real quick because I have a new toy, so I want to hit play.
That is awesome. Yes, Rochelle Wise is saying Gutenberg would make total sense on Tumblr. Gutenberg on Tumblr would kill Medium.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
who they've always been after anyway. So this is like a win-win-win for Automatic. Write-off for carrying over a loss, users, Gutenberg on Tumblr. So
Yeah.
they're gonna stay separate, or at least for now. But if they're using Gutenberg, then they're still users.
Right.
Users mean money. Money means
And
purchase.
will the logins of Tumblr in WordPress end up mixing together where you're essentially using your WordPress ID as your way of logging in? At some point you always see these companies where they'll acquire one another, and then one goes and wins the war over who's going to be the one that does the authentication method.
Mhm.
And so if that's the case, then that means you have all these people that are using Tumblr who also have gravatars, who also have like all sorts of things. Like it just blows up. You end up with just all sort of this like cohesion that happens, quickly, not easily, but quickly,
Yeah.
And now everyone who has a Tumblr account could at some point also end up with a WordPress.com account. And now you can build your websites off of it and use the same. It's like there's a way of making sure that that user base just goes straight up the through the roof.
Yep. So we have one more topic before our tour for the week. Short codes.
Yeah, short codes.
In the block editor. Ben Meredith was trying to help one of his better click to tweet customers who is using Divi, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah, you kind of have this like you kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place because you have the old school editor that's being used, the classic editor, if you will, and then you have the block editor, which is Gutenberg, and then you have something that's a page builder, could be Divi, could be whatever, and now you have a place there that you're trying to click on click inside TinyMCE and be able to have it generate a shortcode for you, and that doesn't exist anymore. So it's like you have to turn on classic editor in order to be able to start using that. So yeah, it's that's an interesting one. I don't know how to navigate that other than from what everyone was saying in the Twitter threads. Yeah, is that you have to install classic editor at that point and use and build have that available and be able to use that. Or like I was saying, you have to remember a short code and the 500 parameters that might be associated with that short code. And that stinks because if you're somebody who always just clicks on the button to say, better click to tweet, then it's like, okay, now I have to like type this in every single time. That's super annoying. Yeah, it's tough. And
I mean, I guess he has to make his plugin a Gutenberg block. This is what I was saying. You either keep it the way it was, which is short code based, 4.9 and down, or you make a Gutenberg block and you're 5.0 and up. This is what I've been saying for 3 years,
Yeah.
essentially.
I know, but it's
2
like
years, whatever. I mean,
like Ben feels that Ben knows he does not want to go and have to write a thing for Divi, a thing for every single different, page builder that's out there. It'd be cool if he did.
No,
but
why would you do that? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't tell him to do that. But that's the problem, is that we're not communicating that this fork actually exists. We're pretending like WordPress is still WordPress. But all of a sudden, things aren't working well because they're not, and then, we're not.
You have some assumptions that are in there that just get you stuck.
Short codes are tricky, man. Short codes are tricky. But I will have a suggestion. If you are tired of unreliable or slow hosting, check out Kinsta.com, which takes managed WordPress hosting to the next level. Powered by Google Cloud, all their plans include PHP 7.3, SSH access for developers, one-click staging area, 20 global data centers, free SSL, free CDN, and 24/7 expert support who will also migrate your site free of charge. Find out more at kinsta.com, Kinsta.com. Tooler tip of the week.
Woohoo! I don't have any cool graphics for Tour Tip of the Week, but if somebody wants to make me some graphics for cool Tour Tip of the Week, I'd be more than happy to throw them up on the screen. And I'll make sure I even say your name every once in a while, too.
I'll even make sure.
Tooler Tip of the Week. Oh, man.
So, as I said, I was doing some serious marketing meetings with Jason Lemieux for Postmatic, GoPostmatic.com. And we set up we decided to resurrect his base camp, okay? But we had these partnership conversations that he didn't feel were best tracked there and wasn't excited about a Google Sheet. So we're using Airtable. Airtable.com.
Yes! How awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I like it on my phone. I like that you can, call you can make a category. It basically looks like a spreadsheet, but has database functionality.
And you can stick images in a column. Like there's just some cool stuff you can do with this,
I know, it's so funny. I'm like, why don't we just use Trello? No, I don't like that. Like, he doesn't like the Kanban style or Kanban or however you say it. And that's fine. So, but you can sort it, you can filter it, you can make notes, you can say
it has an API.
Yeah, well, I don't know about the API stuff, but for me, I can write in the notes, oh yeah, I talked to so-and-so on this date, and what was the last contact? So it's like CRM-ish enough.
Right.
To manage the things that we want to manage.
Yeah.
So if I were doing collections again, I have done collections for WordPress agencies that charge 25%. Because that's where I started in my life. But anyway, like, I would use that. I like that. Because I always just did an Excel sheet or Google Sheets now. But I like the last contacted date, because when I email or call them up, I'm like, oh, that's interesting, because when I talked to you on August 4th, you said you cut the check. Did you ever mail it?
Do you remember talking to me?
Yeah. So I really like it. I think it's going to be a great tool that maybe I'll use with some of my other clients.
That's cool. No, I've been wanting to play with it. I love using automation, especially on my phone. There's a kid next door that's screaming his bloody head off. Sorry. It's probably coming in the headphones. Sorry about that.
Apartment living.
Apartment living. Yeah. So I talked about this before with Shortcuts. And so Shortcuts has a whole bunch of stuff you can do that ties into Airtable. I mean, if you want to talk to the person in your phone, that special person in the phone, and say that person's name, and then tell it to add a new row to your table, you could definitely do that if you wanted to, Bridget,
Yeah.
And then it'd be transcribed incorrectly and all of that fun stuff.
But still, it's cool, and I like the phone app.
Yeah. The phone app looks good.
Because half the time, I don't need to be doing the main notes. I just need to see what's going on. Oh, is it my turn? Tag, you're it. Okay, I'll call this person. And then I call them, and I make notes on my computer because I I got a manicure today. I like my fingers to go like this, you know? I'm never going to not want to use my laptop.
No, my Airtable sounds great. I would definitely take a look at it.
It's not super expensive. It's $10 a user. I mean, I spent $25 for my WordPress hosting, so.
True.
I mean, SaaS is the way to go, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what SaaS product are you gonna
right? Exactly. So I've been playing around with, it's funny you said CRM because this is totally the thing that I've been looking at. I'm always hesitant to recommend a thing. So let's just say I'm not recommending it. I'm raising it to the surface. So feel free to take a
getting this as an option.
Right. Yeah. We went on our first date and that's about it. So, so I'm using this tool called Cloze, and it's spelled CLOZE.
Okay.
And cloze.com. And what this app does is it's an app that runs on your phone. It's also, if I remember correctly, it has a web interface as well. But it has a web interface as well. And so what Cloze does is it's like a relationship manager, but it ties into social media.
Oh.
So it tells you like, here's the last time you interacted with this person. Here's the last time you did this. Here's the last time you did that. Like it tells you all of those things.
Wait, is it going in like your tweets? Is it connected to the Twitter API?
Yeah.
I might need that.
Well, I'd be interested in seeing how it would work for somebody like you, because for somebody like me who doesn't talk enough to all these people that are on these social networks, because my job at work is not to do that, so it makes it really difficult for me to manage it. It's like $17 a month for it. I've been playing around with a trial of it, and then I did get the first month just to kind of play around with it and see how it works. But yeah, it pulls in a whole bunch of stuff. It pulls in your Gmail. It pulls into Google Calendar. It pulls into Slack. So it tells you last time you spoke to somebody in Slack. It Facebook. It even pulls in like your phone calls and stuff that happens through T-Mobile or AT&T or Verizon, which is super interesting. So it'll actually tell you whether or not you called those people.
It's Big Brother.
It is. And that's one thing that kind of scares me a little bit, because it's like, this is all my contacts and all my people that I talk to and all the stuff that I do. But man, does this thing tell you like, hey, you haven't talked to so-and-so in like 3 weeks. Dude, you should say hi to them.
This is the exact tool we needed at Give in 2016.
Huh. Really?
Because we were trying to figure out because we did talk to our customers a lot on social media and in our closed Slack channel.
Yep. Yeah, it's an interesting tool. Like you just tell it like, here's all my Facebook pages, here's all my Facebook posts, and here's all my Twitters, and here's all my Instagrams, or not Instagram, but here's all my stuff, and it kind of pulls all that stuff in and then says like, hey, you haven't talked to this person in the last, however many months. Or it tells me I talked to someone and I'm like, I talked to that person, but apparently I had an interaction with them in some way, shape, or form. So there's a bunch of kind of niceties that are in there, and just a way that it kind of pulls all those pieces in. So
that would be fun to try. I'd like to see like if I break it.
You might break it, because I look at the analytics of this thing. Like, here, I wonder if I can show this part of it without. Yeah, I can probably show this. Let's see here. Let me try this. Live TV, folks. Live TV. So here's like the analytics for it. Like, here's your activity, and here's like emails and phone calls, and your time spent. And I don't have lead qualifiers because I'm not selling anything. So this stuff makes it kind of useless on my side. But it it tells you like your weekend review of like how many people you interacted with over the last 7 days.
Does that say 97% of your mail was bulk?
Yeah.
Is that junk mail? Yeah. You received more than you sent. Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, no kidding. but yeah, it gives you a whole bunch of information in here. It's
That's
pretty
cool.
interesting. Yeah, it's a pretty interesting tool to play with. So there's a whole bunch of other things on here I'm totally scared to click on because I don't want it to show up on the screen.
Yeah.
But it's a neat looking interface, and you should definitely definitely take a look at it and see how that would work for you. I've played with other ones of these personal CRM systems,
Yeah.
and some of them are okay, and other ones they could be better. But it kind of tells you like, hey, you haven't talked to this person in a week. You should probably hit them up. Okay. Like right now, it's telling me it's like, hey, did you know in 52 minutes ago, you're supposed to do this WPblab thing. And you're doing this with Bridget because you've tagged her in the thing.
Oh, does that take it from your Google Calendar?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Like it's showing me an email that happened with Mary and somebody else, Brian Hogg. It's like, hey, do you want to work on this? And have you worked on that? And Twitter interactions. And
so when you click on the Bridget Willer that you're doing this thing, can you say she has a cat named Fluffy and her favorite place to go is Cancun or something like that? Like,
probably.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, can you store in that so that when you're on the phone with them, you go, hey, how's Fluffy?
Oh, I'd imagine so. Yeah.
I mean, that's the tricky stuff that I keep in my head because I read people's tweets. But I'm sort of curious, like, does that do that? You know how salespeople do that. This guy I was dating, and he was calling me every certain period of time. Oh boy, there's a lot of Bridget there. Yeah, you could related people. Is that Resnick? Jen?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because of all the emails I sent with you, and
yep,
that's so funny.
And what companies in the past you were tied into?
Relationship strength. That's just bullshit. I should be way higher than that.
How do you think you rate? You know, you can totally change that if you want. You know,
that's so funny. That is so funny.
But it'll show you like social media interactions, and it'll show you a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, it's really neat.
What is the to-dos? What are the to-dos? Is that pulled in from your calendar?
Yeah, I think so.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
I don't really know if I like the black, but I don't like
that. I think there's a night mode you can turn on and off. Yeah.
Because white text with black reminds me of Dreamweaver from 1999. But other than that, like that's
I think there's a black mode I just have turned on right now.
Yeah. I know you coders, you like the black. I don't
want to make my whole room all light up all bright white while I'm trying to work. Jeez.
Well, we managed to get in all of the news we could remember.
Yeah, and I want to
this week.
And I want to make sure that we're perfectly clear here. Like this show is not going to be the news show. We are not doing a news program. But if we're doing that, like, the amount of work that you'd have to go through in order to figure out, I mean, Jeff will tell you the amount of work that you have to go through in order to be able to pull off that sort of thing is really difficult. And I'd much rather just come on here and talk about some fun stuff that's going on. But we didn't have much going on. So it was like Bridget's been traveling like crazy and we just need to be able to have some time. I've been really busy at work, literally building a building. So there's just a lot of stuff that's been going on. So it was cool to just kind of come on and try something totally different and kind of use a whole new system to see how it works. So whatever you're watching this on or anything like that, what I'd love to hear from you in the in the comments, in the chat, in the whatever is tell us how this worked for you. Did the system look okay? Did things work well? Was it well received? Were you able to watch it on Twitter? Were you able to watch it on all the different places? And if so, then cool, because this might be the new system that I use to kind of do these shows, and so far so good.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not telling you what the name of it is until I actually can figure out if I want to use it or not. Because again, we're just dating right now, and I'm not so sure,
It's like my tweet. My boyfriend's a Bitmoji, but I'm super sweet on him. So he doesn't want to come out yet. So here's the thing: like overall, the relationship of these stories and why I think this would be a good topic. Thanks, Rochelle. She said it looks good on YouTube. Is that there are huge changes in WordPress right now because we are maturing as people who use and contribute and have products in WordPress, right? So we're getting older, we're getting married. We as a demographic, we're having kids, we're moving, we're changing jobs. And so that kind of thing affects, and then as the software gets developed and technology changes, and we're in React and we're in P++ next year. I mean, look, oh my goodness, you know what I
What?
forgot to talk about? The one
What?
thing that really pissed me off. Oh my God. Now I had a rant. There's like 2 million sites, okay, that are going to be possibly broken. Okay. Okay. I cannot believe I forgot this. So there is a proposal from Core, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And in this proposal, there is going to be everybody's getting, upgraded or something like that. Okay.
Right.
So,
a forced upgrade.
A forced upgrade from 3.7 to 4.6. Okay. So there was this tweet by Morton and John James that's like, I've added my thoughts to this thing. Okay. So people were like, well, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So I thought, well, I'll just go to Built With because I know about this because of my friend Jason Tucker. And I'll just go find out how many sites are in that range. Is it 30,000? What is it? How many users are we talking about? And the answer is 1.9 million. If you round it up, it's 2 million. 2 million sites.
Yeah.
And the question is that an acceptable attrition? And some people would say, well, they're abandoned. And I'm like, they say they're active. So what do you qualify as abandoned? Now,
right.
WordPress, as we talked about in the beginning, especially when we talked about PHP 7.5 or P++ or whatever it's going to be, has a commitment to backward compatibility. And they've already been in the gray area with WordPress 5. And now they're saying, well, obviously, we already recommend PHP 7.2. Okay? So we made that step. We recommend it, but we don't break sites. But if you automatically upgrade everybody to 4.7, there are going to be things that break because people make their own janky themes and their own janky custom code and whatever. Now, listen, I'm going to talk about this because I got one more minute. The thing is, when I was at Riggins Construction, we used this program that was based on not Fox Pro, that's PC. File server.
FileMaker Pro?
FileMaker Pro, sorry, FileMaker Pro. And FileMaker Pro had a breaking change, and I think 9 or something like that. So the version we were on was old. And we were in the middle of an upgrade, and I was managing that, which kept failing. Okay, I was doing the QA for this upgrade that was breaking. So meanwhile, we're stuck in FileMaker 9 or 7 or something like that. So I mean, because the program relied upon that, it doesn't really matter what the program was. CMS, nobody knows what it is. Construction management system, CMIS, information system. Anyway, the point is it relied upon a database that broke because it changed how its relational functionality was.
Yeah.
Guess what? That would not work on newer Macs.
Okay. Yeah.
We had to keep old machines that didn't work for anything else to run this FileMaker for years.
Yeah.
Years. To the point where the screen was broken and I had to control a computer sitting on a desk that nobody used with their own desktop in order to do my accounting. That was
That's
not
funny.
an abandoned program.
Yeah.
We were in a space where we spent $14,000 to update it, but the programmer could not get it to work. Meanwhile, we have to keep running our business. Okay.
Sure.
So just because it's an old version doesn't mean that it's abandoned. And I think that presumption is false and elitist, and to use a word that the millennials use, privileged as F.
I hear you.
To abandon 2 million sites because we think it's better is ridiculous. Now, I mean, to break them. I say we abandon them. Microsoft, everybody in the world does this. We're not giving you any more security updates. Put a thing in the admin that says, now I'm over by 53 seconds. Put a thing in the admin that says, please contact a WordPress developer. Your database is extremely out of date.
Yeah.
We're at risk for being hacked or whatever they want to say, whatever Core comes up with. But don't force them to upgrade because their other things won't work. When I was working at the advertising agency, we took over sites that had their own crappy, weird, funky theme, and it could not upgrade because the theme was funky and they wanted it. And then they upgrade and they say WordPress breaks. And then they leave WordPress and go to Umbraco. That's a marketing problem. That's a branding problem. I know it's a language issue and a security issue, but ultimately how it's handled is a big problem for WordPress. And if they want to get that 50%, they better stop, drop, and roll. Love, Bridget.
Awesome. Thank you, Bridget, for being on the show with me. And thank you for coming and hanging out with us. All the folks that were in the chat, we really appreciate you guys coming in there and hanging out with us there. Go over to our website at WPwatercooler.com/subscribe. That's where you can learn to subscribe to this and all the other content that happens on our shows. And when you subscribe, you're subscribing to 2 different things, maybe even 3 different things. One is you're subscribing to our mailing list. And the reason why is because I send out an email, which I'm going to be sending out in just a couple minutes, telling everybody, hey, WPwatercooler is going to be happening tomorrow. Feel free to come on the show. Why do I send it so late? I send it so late because people don't know how to manage their calendars and they bail out on me. And so I want to make sure that they have the freshest information before they say yes. 2, you should go and subscribe to both of our stuff and subscribe to the stuff as a podcast. And also, if you haven't subscribed to this channel on YouTube, feel free to go do that as well. Anyhow, thank you, Bridget, for hanging out. Talk to y'all later. You have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.